first you got to invade their minds.
That really captures it, doesn't it? It's the core idea.
It perfectly sets up our mission for this deep dive. We're really getting into the certified tactical playbook today.
Right. The methodologies, the frameworks, the whole mindset that security pros use to actually defend digital systems.
And we're basing this on the Certified Ethical Hacking Approach, the CEH curriculum.
Exactly. But, before we even talk about attacking, we need to be crystal clear on what we're actually trying to protect. It seems obvious, but it's foundational.
Okay, yeah. Most people listening probably know the classic CIA triad, right? Confidentiality, integrity, availability.
The old standby, sure.
But is that enough anymore? In today's threat landscape, it feels, well, incomplete.
It really is. That's why we need to think in terms of the CIN model. We've got to add authenticity and non-repudiation to the mix.
Okay, so CIA is keeping secrets, secret, data accurate, and systems up. What do the two A's bring? Why are they so essential now?
Well, authenticity is all about proving identity. Are you really who you say you are? Is this data source legitimate? Think biometrics, digital certificates, that sort of thing.
Got it. Identity proof.
And non-repudiation. This one's huge for accountability, especially legally. It basically guarantees that if a message is sent or a transaction happens, the sender can't just turn around later and deny they did it.
Ah, so it makes digital signatures legally binding.
Precisely. It underpins trust in everything from major financial trades to sensitive internal comms. These 5 elements together, CIAN, that's the complete set of what an ethical hacker is ultimately paid to safeguard.
Okay, so that defines what we're protecting. Now let's flip it. What are we defending against? When we talk about hacking, it's not just random mischief, is it?
No, not at all. It's quite specific. It's the deliberate exploitation of system vulnerabilities. The goal is always to bypass security controls and gain unauthorized access.
And the reasons behind it seem all over the map. Financial gain, sure, but also revenge, politics, even just a thrill.
Oh, the motives are incredibly diverse. But here's the interesting part. Even with all that chaos in motive, the act of attacking itself, it tends to follow patterns. It can be formalized.
Wait, really? You can put a formula to hacking?
Kind of, yeah. The EC Council does exactly that. They define an attack like this. Attack, motive or goal, plus method, the TTP, plus vulnerability.
Motive, method, vulnerability.
Okay.
And TTP is tactics, techniques, and procedures.
Exactly. If you're missing any one of those 3 components, the motive, the right method, or an actual vulnerability to exploit the attack just fizzles out. It fails.
And these methods, these TTPs, they fall into different categories based on how they hit the system. I always found the passive versus active distinction quite revealing.
Oh, absolutely. Passive attacks are things like intercepting traffic, sniffing data off a network, eavesdropping. They don't change anything.
Which makes them super hard to detect, right?
Extremely difficult. They could be monitoring for ages. Active attacks, on the other hand, are noisy. They tamper with data. They disrupt services. Think denial of service, SQL injection, much more direct.
Then you have attacks that aren't purely digital. They remind us security has a physical dimension.
Right. Close-in attacks need physical presence, shoulder surfing someone's password, or even dumpster diving for old documents. It still happens.
Seriously. Dumpster diving.
Oh, yeah. Then there are insider attacks. These can be devastating. It's trusted people abusing their access, maybe planting a keylogger, stealing data from the inside.
Oof, that's tough to guard against.
It is. And finally, there's distribution attacks. These are really sneaky. The hardware or software is compromised before it even gets to the customer. Think backdoors built in during manufacturing.
Wow. So the threat can be embedded right from the start. That paints a complex picture of the adversary. Which brings us nicely to the hacker taxonomy. There seem to be nearly 10 types listed sometimes. Do we really need to distinguish between a script kiddie and, say, a state actor?
That's a fair question. We can probably gloss over the basics of white hat, black hat, defensive versus offensive, legal versus illegal. People get that.
Okay.
But the nuances do matter. Take gray hat hackers. These folks operate in a gray area. They might find a vulnerability without permission, then maybe disclose it for money, or maybe just tell the company out of curiosity. Their ethics can be flexible.
Right. Not purely good or bad.
Yeah.
Then you get into the really serious players, corporate spies, for instance. That sounds pretty high stakes.
It is. These are professionals often hired specifically to steal intelligence from competitors. Industrial espionage, they often use what we call advanced persistent threats, APTs.
APTs.
Yeah.
That means getting in and staying hidden for a long time.
Exactly. They establish a long-term, stealthy presence inside a network, sometimes for years, just quietly siphoning off critical data. Very sophisticated, very patient.
And there are the vigilantes.
Red hat hackers. Yeah, they're an interesting bunch. They aren't just defending, they actively go after black hat hackers, trying to shut down their operations, sometimes using pretty aggressive, maybe not so ethical methods themselves to neutralize a threat.
So fighting fire with fire, but outside the rules.
Sort of, yeah. Contrast that with blue hat hackers. They're also external, hired guns, but purely defensive and temporary. Companies hire them specifically to hammer on a system before it launches, find the holes, think security quality control.
Ah, pre-release testing. Makes sense.
And, of course, we can't ignore state-sponsored hackers. Highly trained government teams, espionage, cyber warfare, that's the top tier of capability and resources. And briefly, there are even suicide hackers motivated by a cause, not afraid of getting caught, aiming for maximum disruption.
Okay, that list alone tells you why ethical hackers need a strict process. This CEH, ethical hacking framework, it basically mirrors what the bad guys do, step by step.
It has to, yeah. That's the core idea of penetration testing. The critical difference, like you said earlier, is consent and the goal. It's a 5-phase process designed to be thorough.
Let's walk through that playbook. What's step 1?
It always starts with phase 1, reconnaissance, also called footprinting. This is the information gathering phase. You're trying to learn everything you can about the target, passively at first, then maybe more actively.
Like mapping the terrain.
Exactly. Which leads right into scanning and enumeration. Here, you're actively probing, trying to find live hosts, open ports, what services are running, grabbing details like user lists, network routes, building that detailed map of the target environment.
So recon is looking around, scanning is actively poking.
That's a good way to put it. Once you have that map, you move to phase 2, vulnerability scanning. Now you systematically check those map systems for known weaknesses, outdated software, misconfigurations, anything that looks like an open door.
And finding those doors leads to phase 3.
Gaining access. This is the actual exploit. Using a vulnerability you found to break in, maybe password cracking, maybe exploiting a software bug. Once you're in, the first thing you usually need to do is escalate privileges, get more control, become an administrator if possible.
Right, getting the keys to the kingdom.
Then comes phase 4, maintaining access. You don't just want to get in once, you want to stay in. So attackers install backdoors, rootkits, persistence mechanisms so they can come back anytime. Or maybe use the compromised machine to attack deeper into the network.
Setting up shop.
And finally, phase 5, clearing tracks. Absolutely essential for a real attacker. They need to erase evidence, delete logs, modify timestamps. For an ethical hacker, demonstrating that tracks can be cleared is a critical finding for the client. It shows a failure in their detection or logging.
That 5-phase cycle makes sense operationally. But for defense teams trying to strategize, they need bigger picture models, right? That's where things like the cyber kill chain come in.
Precisely. The kill chain is a strategic model. It lays out the attack sequence chronologically in 7 phases: reconnaissance, weaponization, delivery, exploitation, installation, command and control, C2, and finally, actions on objectives.
And the idea is to break the chain anywhere along the line.
Exactly. If you can interrupt any single step, block the delivery, detect the C2 traffic, you stop the whole intrusion. Its value is in that chronological defense planning.
Okay, so the kill chain gives us the timeline. But I hear a lot about the Amadeus ATT and CK framework too. How does that fit in? Why use both?
Good question. Think of it like this. The kill chain is great for the overall sequence, but it kind of summarizes the later stages, exploit, install, C2, quite broadly.
Right.
Amadeus ATTCK dives deep into what happens after that initial breach. It's this massive open source knowledge base of tactics, techniques, and procedures, those TTPs, again, based on real-world observations of attackers.
So it details how they move laterally, how they maintain persistence, how they steal data.
Exactly. It's organized into, I think, 14 high-level tactics, each with tons of specific techniques. It gives defenders a detailed dictionary of adversary behaviors to hunt for in their own network logs and telemetry. It provides that crucial granularity inside the network.
Okay, so kill chain is the strategic timeline. MITRE is the tactical dictionary for post-breach activity. That makes sense. Now, shifting gears slightly. How is artificial intelligence changing this landscape? It feels like AI is popping up everywhere.
It really is, and cybersecurity is no exception. AI and machine learning are becoming huge force multipliers, frankly, for both attack and defense.
How so for the ethical hacking side?
Well, think efficiency. AI can process vast amounts of data logs, threat intel way faster than humans. It can spot subtle patterns, reduce human error in analysis. It helps with scalability too, monitoring huge infrastructures, and predictive analysis learning from past attacks to anticipate future ones.
Are there actual tools emerging now? AI helping pen testers?
Oh, definitely. We're starting to see things like Shell GPT AI assistants that can help automate complex command line tasks or even generate secure code snippets, and tools like Pentest GPT, which are being designed to help automate parts of the vulnerability assessment and reporting process.
So freeing up the human expert to focus on the harder stuff.
That's the idea. Let the AI handle the repetitive, data-heavy tasks.
But let's tackle the big question head on. Is AI going to replace human ethical hackers?
No, absolutely not. At least not anytime soon. That's a common misconception.
Why not?
Because AI, right now, automates tasks. It finds patterns. But ethical hacking requires so much more. Creativity, critical thinking, understanding business context, social engineering, making complex ethical judgments. AI can't replicate that human intuition and domain knowledge. The human is still needed to interpret the results, validate findings, and make the strategic calls.
Okay, so AI is a powerful tool, an assistant, but not a replacement. Got it. So bringing this back to the organization trying to defend itself, what are the key defensive strategies they need to master using all this knowledge?
Two concepts are absolutely critical. First is a defense in depth. It's a military idea, basically. Don't rely on one single defense. You need multiple layers.
Like layers of an onion.
Exactly. Perimeter firewall, then network segmentation, then host security, endpoint detection, data encryption. If one layer fails, the next one might catch the attacker. No single point of failure.
Makes sense. And the second concept?
Risk management. This isn't a one-time thing. It's a continuous process. You have to constantly identify, assess, and then decide how to handle risk, accept it, mitigate it, transfer it, avoid it.
And there's a formula for quantifying risk, right?
There is. The basic formula is risk, threat x vulnerability x asset value. You figure out the likelihood of a threat exploiting a vulnerability and multiply that by how much the asset is worth to you. That helps you decide if the risk is acceptable or if you need to spend resources to reduce it.
Threat times vulnerability times value. Okay.
And woven through all of this, especially for ethical hackers, is compliance. You can't just hack away. You operate within legal and regulatory boundaries.
Yes, the rules. Like PCI DSS for credit cards.
Right. Or HIPAA for health information, GDPR for personal data in Europe. These standards dictate what you can test, how you can test it, and especially how you handle any sensitive data you uncover. It adds a whole layer of complexity.
Definitely. So we've really covered the map today from the foundational CIN principles through the hacker types, the detailed 5-phase methodology, the strategic frameworks like the kill chain and MITORI, ATT, and CK.
And how AI is fitting into the picture as a tool, not a replacement.
Yeah, it's clear that defending requires understanding the offense in minute detail. The human element, that critical thinking, still seems absolutely central.
It really is. And maybe here's a final thought for you, for the listener, to chew on, building on that defense in-depth idea and the rise of AI.
Okay, let's hear it.
We know attackers are using AI to automate and scale their attacks, and defenders are deploying AI for detection and response. So, given this escalating cyber arms race and our reliance on layered, complex defenses, how do organizations make sure the AI defense tools they deploy don't become the next major vulnerability? How do we prevent the cure from becoming, well, part of the problem? Could attacker AI target defender AI? That continuous evaluation of our own tools, that feels like the next big frontier.